greetings. This is how it would have been done at the Globe Theater when Shakespeare performed. You would actually be sitting on the ground, or standing actually. You wouldn't be sitting, you'd be actually standing. And you would have paid a penny to get in. Did you get your admission? Well, we've been studying Shakespeare since, this great group of kids, great group of girls. We've been studying Shakespeare since, I guess,
Spring?
the spring, early in the spring. And we've looked at his life, we've looked at his works. We've looked at the way history and what time was at that time when he lived. And we've had a great time. We have looked at little bits and pieces of all of his plays, most of his plays. And today you're going to hear something from Hamlet, from As You Like It, from Romeo and Juliet, from Henry V, yes, and from Midsummer Night's Dream. So, I want to make sure you all, here you in the groundlings, know that the characters will be walking back and forth in front of you and past you. So when they do that, you just kind of give them room, okay? But this is what would have been. You would have been very much involved in the play. You would have been talking back. You would have been cheering the hero, and you would have been booing the bad guy, okay? So whatever you feel like doing, that's fine, but just keep it within reason, okay? All right. So let's get ready, guys, for the first one. We're going to begin our session, our merriment and monologues, with the Speak the Speech from Hamlet. And in this speech, Hamlet is giving advice to a group of actors on how and how not to deliver the lines in a play. So we thought that that would be a great start to our monologue day. How to deliver the lines and how not. And Miss Christina Fate is Hamlet.
Speak the speech, I pray thee, as I pronounced it to you, trippingly on the tongue. But if you mouth it, as many of your players do, I had as lief the town crier spoke my lines. Nor do not saw the air too much with your hand thus, but use all gently, for in the very torrent, tempest, and as I may say, whirlwind of your passion, you must acquire and beget a temperance that may give it smoothness. Oh, it offends me to the soul to hear a robustious, periwig-pated fellow tear a passion to tatters, to very rags, to split the ears of the groundlings, who for the most part are capable of nothing but inexplicable dumb shows and noise. I would have such a fellow whipped for o'erdoing termagant. It out-Herods Herod. Pray you avoid it.
All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages.
At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms.
Then the whining schoolboy, with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail, unwilling to school.
And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrow. And then the soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly, with good capon lined, with eyes severe, and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts to the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side. His youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shape.
His big, manly voice, turning again towards childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound.
Last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion.
Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything.
Now we're going to move into some scenes from Romeo and Juliet. To begin, Ariana Anderson is going to give us the prologue. In the prologue, many times, that would tell you where the play would be set, what was going on in the play, how long the play would last, because the play, there were no scenes or scenery or sets or anything in the Globe Theater. What the prologue told you was what you knew might be coming up in the play. So listen carefully. Ariana Anderson giving the prologue to Romeo and Juliet.
Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventure, piteous overthrows, doth with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death marked love and the continuance of their parents' rage, which what their children's end naught could remove, is now the 2 hours' traffic of our stage. The which, if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend.
By my head, here come the Hamlets.
By my heel, I care not. Follow me close, for I will speak to them. Gentlemen, good evening. A word with one of you.
And but one word with one of us? Couple it with something. Make it a word and a blow.
Mercutio, you shall find me apt enough to that, sir, if you will give me an occasion.
Can you not take some occasion without giving?
Mercutio, thou consortest with Romeo.
Consort? What? Dost thou make us minstrels? If thou make minstrels of us, look to hear nothing but discord.
We talk here in the public haunt of men. Depart. Here all eyes are on us.
Let them gaze. I will not budge.
Peace be with you. Here comes my man. Romeo, thou art a villain.
I do protest, I never injured thee, but love thee better than thou canst devise, till thou shalt know the reason of my love. And so, good Capulet, be satisfied. Calm, dishonorable, vile submission. Alistair Cotta carries it away. Tybalt, you rat catcher, will you walk?
What wouldst thou have with me?
Good king of cats, nothing but one of your 9 lives.
I am for you.
Gentle Mercutio, put thy rapier up.
Listen to him,
Come,
Mercutio.
sir, your pasado. Draw, Benvolio. Beat down their weapons. Gentlemen, for shame! Forbear this outrage! Tybalt, Mercutio, the prince hath expressly forbidden. Hey, Tybalt, run, Mercutio! I'm hurt! Yes. Plague of both your houses. They have made worms meat of me. This gentleman, my very friend, hath got this mortal hurt on my behalf. Tybalt, that 1 hour hath been my cousin. Sweet Juliet, thy beauty hath made me weak, and in my temper softened valor's steel.
Romeo, brave Mercutio is dead. That gallant spirit hath espied the clouds.
This day's black fate on more days doth depend. This but begins the woe others must end.
Did you like that sword fight scene?
Whoa.
It's pretty cool, huh? Romeo and Juliet, there's a lot of sword fighting going on in that play. That was pretty cool. I loved it. And Ellie and Miss Christina worked a long, long time on all of those moves. All of those moves were choreographed. Pretty exciting, huh? So now we're going to wait for them to change and get ready for the next scene. They're changing back there. So I'm going to have some audience participation from all of you now. So we know that Shakespeare wrote a lot of stuff, right? Lots of plays, many plays. And what he did has never been repeated. And his work is still, today, we still do it all the time. But What we sometimes don't realize is that a lot of the words that he invented and a lot of the phrases that he came up with are still in our vocabulary today. So I'm going to read something for you. And every time, and you have a part. And your part is simply to say, quoting Shakespeare. Can you do that? Quoting Shakespeare. Again.
Quoting Shakespeare.
Right. So I'll give you this signal when it's time for you to say, quoting Shakespeare. Okay? All right. If you cannot understand my argument and declare it's Greek to me, you are
Quoting Shakespeare.
If you claim to be more sinned against than sinning, you are
Quoting Shakespeare.
If you act more in sorrow than anger, if your wish is father to the thought, if your lost property has vanished into thin air, you are
Quoting Shakespeare.
If you have ever refused to budge an inch, or you've suffered from green-eyed jealousy, if you have played fast and loose, if you have ever been tongue-tied, a tower of strength, hoodwinked, or in a pickle, if you have ever knitted your eyebrows together, if you've made a virtue of necessity, if you've ever insisted on fair play, if you've slept not one wink, or stood on ceremony, or danced attendance on your lord and master, if you've ever laughed yourself into stitches, or had a short shrift, if you've ever had cold comfort, or too much of a good thing, if you've ever seen better days, or lived in a fool's paradise, why, be that as it may, the more fool you. For it is a foregone conclusion that you are as good as luck would have it.
Quoting Shakespeare.
If you think it is early days and you clear out bag and baggage, if you think it's high time, or that's the long and short of it, if you believe the game is up, or that truth will out, even if it involves your own flesh and blood, or if you lie low till the crack of doom because you suspect foul play, if you have your teeth set on edge at one fell swoop without rhyme or reason, then to give the devil his due, if the truth were known, for surely you have a tongue in your head, you are
Quoting Shakespeare.
And even if you bid me good riddance and send me packing, if you wish I was dead as a doornail, if you think I'm an eyesore, if you think I'm a laughing stock, if you want the devil incarnate who is a stony-hearted villain and bloody-minded, or if someone's a blinking idiot, then, by Jove, oh Lord, toot toot, for goodness sake, what the dickens? But me no buts. It's all one to me, for you are
Quoting Shakespeare.
Thank you. Now in this next scene from Romeo and Juliet, Act 2, Scene 5, the nurse, played by Rachel Fate, and Juliet, played by Kate McDonald, are trying to have a conversation, because Juliet really wants some information about Romeo from the nurse, and she just is having a hard time getting all that information out. So let's move some chairs into place for the nurse and Juliet to have their scene. Sometimes you have to do your own set changes. Okay? All right, company, we are ready.
It's been 3 hours since I sent nurse to speak to Romeo about our wedding. She is so slow. Love's messenger should be thoughts which fly 10 times faster than sunbeams. If she were young like I am, she would bounce as fast as a ball. My words would bounce her to Romeo, and his words would bounce her back to me. Truthfully, the elderly can be so very slow. Oh, here she comes. Sweet nurse, what news do you bring? Did you speak to her?
Peter, wait for me at the gate.
Oh, good sweet nurse. Oh no, why do you look so sad? You've been even if it is sad news, tell me this way.
I am tired. Leave me alone for a minute. Oh, my bones ache. I've been running all over the place looking for Romeo.
I'm sorry you're in such pain, sweet nurse. Truly, tell me what my Romeo said.
Can't you wait one moment? Can't you see that I'm out of breath?
How can you be out of breath when you have enough breath to tell me you're out of breath? Tell me, is the news good or bad? Do you have enough breath for that?
Have you had lunch yet?
No, I haven't had lunch yet. Tell me, is the news good or bad? What about that?
Oh, what a headache I've got. My head is pounding. My back aches too. Ooh, on the other side. Why did you send me all over town? I could get sick and die.
I'm sorry, sweet nurse. Tell me, is the news good or bad?
Your Romeo says, like an honorable gentleman, who is courteous and kind and handsome and virtuous. Where is your mother?
Where is my mother? She's inside. Where else would she be? Your answer is so strange. Romeo says, like an honorable gentleman, where is your mother?
Come now, are you that impatient? Come now, you're being so silly. Is that the cure for my aching bones? From now on, deliver your messages yourself.
You're making such a fuss, sweet nurse. Tell me what my Romeo said.
Do you have permission to go to the church this morning? Then hurry and rush to see Friar Lawrence. I must find a ladder. Oh, the drudge work I do for your pleasure. But first, I must get some lunch. Well, why are you waiting? Get you to the church. There's a husband there who's waiting to make you his bride. That girl. Now, to find that ladder for Romeo. Well, eventually, Juliet did figure out, and Romeo met her, and they got married. So, you know, it turned out okay, except that she had a hard time figuring that out, finding that information out. So now I want to tell you guys that Shakespeare didn't just write a lot of plays. He wrote a lot of poems. He wrote some poems, and they're called sonnets. And we're going to do two of them for you. So, Samantha, would you come on out? A sonnet is a certain form of a poem, and it has 14 lines. And there are 3 sets of 4 lines, and then it ends with 2 lines at the end. And every sonnet follows that form. Now, Shakespeare didn't invent sonnets, but he wrote 154 of them. And his sonnets are considered the true Elizabethan sonnet because they're beautiful. They're all of them really beautiful. So Samantha is going to read one that's very famous. It's a sonnet 18, and then I'm going to do sonnet 29.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometime declines, by nature or by chance, nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe and eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Sonnet 29.
When in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself, curse my fate, wishing I like to one more rich in hope, featured like him with friends possessed, desiring that man's art or that man's scope, with what I most enjoy, contented least. Yet in my state, myself almost despising, haply I think on thee. And then my state, like to a lark at break of day, arising from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate. For thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings. So now we're going to move into the great Henry V. Henry V was one of Shakespeare's great historical plays, and Henry was a real guy. Henry V, he was a real guy, and his story is historical and all documented. He was what many scholars believe to be the true, the real, the best medieval king. But he didn't start out very good. He had to convince everybody that he was worth following as a leader. But he does. And in this play, Henry V, the first 1 or 2 lines of this monologue, there's a word called a breach. It's a breach. This is a word, B-R-E-A-C-H. And this means a gap in the wall. And when he comes on and gives that first line, you'll know what that's talking about. He's wanting his men to follow him into the breach. So this is a monologue from Henry V, Act 3, Scene 1, Rachel, Fate, and Company. Company!
Once more into the breach, dear friends. Once more, or close the wall up with our English dead. In peace, there's nothing so becomes a man as modest stillness and humility. But when the blast of war blows in our ears, then imitate the action of the tiger. Stiffen the sinews, summon up the blood, disguise fair nature with hard-favored rage. Hold hard the breath, and bend up every spirit to his full height. On, you noblest English, whose blood is fet from fathers of war proof. Dishonor not your mothers. Now attest that those whom you called fathers did beget you. Be copy now to men of grosser blood, and teach them how to war. And you, whose limbs were made in England, let us swear that you are worth your breeding, which I doubt not. For there is none of you so mean and base that hath not noble luster in your eyes. I see you straining upon the start. The game's afoot. Follow your spirit, and upon this charge, cry God for Harry, England, and St. George!
So that's one of 3 really, really big speeches that Henry gives, and Henry V, and all of them are just as good as that. It's wonderful. If you could see that, it'd be great. We're going to move now to Midsummer Night's Dream. I know Midsummer Night's Dream is one of his most popular, and people love this story. It's filled, there's a fairy named Puck, and there's the king and the queen of the fairies, Oberon and Titania, and there's a donkey, and there's a love potion. And all of that gets mixed up into 3 different stories going on at the same time. It's set in a forest, so you have to imagine this forest and these fairies everywhere, and these 4 young people from Athens get mixed in. It's an amazing story. It's really cool. I can see some of you know it. Okay, so here we have Act 1, Scene 2, with Nick Bottom and Peter Quince from A Midsummer Night's Dream. Company!
Is all our company here?
Yes, here we are.
Here is the list of every man's name which is thought fit through all Athens to play in our interlude before the Duke and the Duchess and his wedding day at night.
Hear, every mother's son.
First, good Peter Quince, say what our play is about. Then read the names of the actors, and then you can sit down.
Yes. Our play is called The Most Lamentable Comedy and Most Cruel Death of Paramus and Thisbe.
A very good piece of work, I assure you. And very merry. Now, good dear, call forth your actors by the scroll. Masters, spread yourselves.
Yes, yes. Answer as I call you. Nick Bottom, the weaver.
Ready. Name what part I am for and proceed.
You, Nick Bottom, have been cast as Paramus.
What is Paramus? Is he a romantic or a tyrant?
A romantic that dies at the end, most terribly. Oh, for love.
That will last some tears in a true performance. If I do it, let the audience look to their eyes. I will move storms.
Yes, yes. Francis Flute, the bellows mender.
Oh, here.
You will play the role of Thisbe.
Who's Thisbe? A gallant knight on a quest?
Well, Thisbe is a lady. But Paramus is in love with her.
Nay, please, let me not play a woman. I'm growing a beard.
That doesn't matter. You can wear a mask and make your voice as high as you want.
Hide my face. Let me play Thisbe too. Speaking of monstrous voice. Thisbe. Ah, Paramus, my dear, and thy Thisbe, dear, and lady dear.
Nay, nay. You must play Paramus, and Flute, you Thisbe.
Yes.
Robert Starveling, the tailor,
Here, Prince.
you will play Thisbe's mother. Tom Snap, the tinker,
Here.
you will play Thisbe's father. I'll be Paramus's father myself. Snap, you will play the part of the lion. So, that's everyone. I hope the play is well cast now.
I pray you, if you have the lion's part written, give it to me now, because it takes me a long time to learn lines.
Improvise the whole thing. It's a lion. It just roars.
Let me play the lion's part too. I'll roar so well that the Duke will say, let him roar again, let him roar again.
And if you roar too ferociously, you will fright the Duchess and the ladies. Yes. And they will scream. And that will get us all executed.
That would hang us, every mother's son.
That's true. But I soften my voice so that I roar as gently as a baby dove. I roar like a sweet, peaceful nightingale.
How does one roar like a nightingale? I pray you. You can't play all the parts, Bottom.
No.
You must be Paramus. Paramus is a handsome man, a lovely, gentleman-like man. So, you see, you, Nick Bottom, are the only one who could play Paramus.
Well, then I'll do it.
Yes!
Trevor.
Ah!
Color, sandy. I'm just a yellow blue, shine like a French crab.
Whatever kind you want. Some of the French crowns are bald, so you may have to play a little barefaced. But hear ye, masters, you have your parts. I entreat you, request you, desire you, learn them by tomorrow night. I pray you, fail me not.
The forest at midnight.
By the Duke's oak.
Prepare ye for merriment. Anon.
If we shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended, that you have but slumbered here while these visions did appear. And this weak and idle theme, no more yielding but a dream. Gentles, do not reprehend. If you pardon, we will mend. And as I am an honest puck, if we have unearned luck now to scape the serpent's tongue, we shall make amends ere long. Else the puck a liar call, and so good night unto you all. Give me your hands, if we be friends, and Robin shall restore amends.
Most scholars today will credit two bodies of literary works as having had the greatest impact on our world. And one of these is the collected writings of William Shakespeare, which we have been studying these past few months. And the other is the King James Version of the Bible.
Shakespeare is considered England's greatest gift to the Western world. He wrote almost 40 plays, inventing thousands of words and unique phrases. There are hundreds of biblical allusions and references in his plays and poems. His great talent was the ability to write characters across the spectrum of human emotion and will, without attempting to influence by personal or political agenda. He shaped the English language, and much of what we say and how we speak today we owe to Shakespeare. What he accomplished has never been repeated. No matter who you are in the world, one of his plays can be found either in rehearsal or in performance at any time of the year.
In 1603, Shakespeare was 39, living in London and writing for the stage. King James I had just become the new monarch of England, and he chose Shakespeare's company as the royal favorites, renaming them the King's Men. That same year, the king called for a new English version of the Bible to be translated directly from Hebrew and Greek. This authorized version was to be read throughout England from every pulpit. Word choices needed to be authentic and sound beautiful, inspiring, and elevating to the soul. People all over England, and eventually the world, would be able to hear the life-changing message of the Word of God in English, and even atheists would end up admiring the language of the King James Version.
It is almost an impossibility that Shakespeare had anything to do with the translating of the King James Version. He was not a cleric, nor a Greek or Hebrew scholar. But it is certainly not unreasonable to assume that he knew the king had called for a new version of the Bible, or that in fact 2 of the 6 committees were working in London's Westminster Abbey. Though most people would not see a connection between the timing of the King James Bible and William Shakespeare's life, it does not seem inconsequential that mankind was left these lasting literary legacies at almost the same moment in time and from the same location in the world. God could do that.
You have heard us recite Shakespeare, and we hope you've enjoyed our work. But now would you please stand as we honor the reading of God's Word from the authorized version of the King James Bible. Pastor George.
Reading from the Epistle to the Colossians, chapter 1. Giving thanks unto the Father, which hath made us meet to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light, who hath delivered us from the power of darkness, and hath translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son, in whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins, who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions, or principalities, or powers. All things were created by him and for him. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence. For it pleased the Father that in him should all fullness dwell. And having made peace through the blood of his cross, by him to reconcile all things unto himself. By him, I say, whether they be things in earth or things in heaven. The Word of God.
You are dismissed, and thank you so much for coming.